Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar titled Sustaining High Performance in Uncertainty, Miro's Talent Retention Story. Over the past few years, many companies have faced the pressure of transformation, and it expresses itself in many ways: tighter budgets, rapid pivots, and of course, rising employee expectations. The results of these developments have been staggering. We've found research by Mercer, by Deloitte, and McKinsey placing global turnover rates at an average of 20%. They also see burnout on the rise and L&D teams being asked to do more with less. But today's session, fortunately, is about a company that does things differently. At Miro, during a period of external turbulence and internal change, the people team bet on learning and development as an enabler for transformation and achieved something truly remarkable. 100% retention of participating learners during the transformation and a 22% increase in employee optimism regarding this transformation. And the best thing is that they didn't do this by chance, but rather by design. My name is Juan Salazar. I'm a senior relationship manager here at Sharpist, and I will be your host for the next 45 minutes. And as you already know, with me is a very special guest, Sam Valentine, head of employee experience at Miro, who played a central role in designing and leading the development program that we'll be exploring today. So in this conversation, Sam and I will be looking at three things: how Miro defined and addressed their challenges with targeted coaching, what measurable results followed, and most interestingly to you, what you can learn and apply in your organization today. Just two notes before we start. As Lutza already mentioned, we will have a dedicated slot for questions at the end of the conversation. So if anything comes up, please simply write it in the Q&A section, and we will make sure to get back to it during this time at the end. And additionally, we will also be sharing some polling questions in the chat in order to better understand your situation, your challenges, and of course, your ideas. So please keep an eye out for them as we're talking, and please make sure to leave your votes as they come. So I would say in the interest of time, let's jump right in and start with an introduction. So Sam, could you please tell the audience a little bit more about yourself, about your role at Miro, and about the company itself?
Sure, thanks, Juan. And thank you very much to Sharpist for having me here today. I'm really excited to be having this conversation, and yeah, happy to be really honest about all the things that we've experienced. And as Juan said earlier, like Miro, like pretty much every other company, has been through these changes. We're seeing the effects of pivots, of the political situation around the world, of all these things that are happening, and what that means for keeping businesses running, keeping people thriving, and trying to sustain performance. So, yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here. My role at Miro, I'm never quite sure what my job title is. It's sort of different in different places, but essentially head of employee experience. It's also a sustainable performance in there as well. Essentially, what I do is try and understand and influence how people are feeling and how that ties to business outcomes and how that drives us forward. And a lot of that is helping navigate through change. So I've been at Miro for 2.5 years, which feels like a very long time. It's definitely been a sort of winding journey. We're a rapidly growing company. We focus, our mission is empowering teams to create the next big thing. So our sort of purpose is innovation, collaboration, and helping our customers innovate and collaborate as well. And so that's kind of the ethos that drives everything we do. Like within that, you can't collaborate, you can't innovate without being very empathetic. So the listening, the experience, the coaching, this is sort of playing to one of our core values of empathy and working with people as individuals so they can work together as a team to create amazing things. And that's basically who we are.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sam. I would like us actually to stay or to continue talking a little bit more about Miro, especially to establish the context where the story that we're about to tell or that you're about to tell takes place. Namely, focusing a bit on challenges, on the pressures you went through during these times of change that we're going to dissect in a bit, and also the values and the culture that allowed you to sustain performance. As you well said, that's also a main part of your role, sustainable performance. So my first question is the following. As you well mentioned, Miro is known for enabling innovation and collaboration. So how does that mindset, that innovative and collaborative mindset, influence your people development philosophy?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we to go back, we look at culture as a product. We look at culture. So I always when I talk about culture, many companies sort of talk about what their culture is, and everyone's got a collaborative culture or an innovative culture, or these words come up very frequently. I think we like to look at it in terms of what does our culture do. So our culture helps us innovate, our culture helps us collaborate. And if we look at it through that lens, then that leads itself to the question of what does a collaborative culture look like, what accelerates it, what puts the brakes on it. And so we then sort of work backwards from there to look at all the interventions we need to make to drive the outcome of the culture we want. And that's how we approach L&D as well, is by looking case by case. And L&D might look different in one department to another department, or one person to another person, of what it really means to be collaborative and to be innovative. So we can see there, this is just one example of that. So we've got our values at the top there. So we play as a team to win the world, we practice empathy to gain insight. But underneath is the behaviors we cultivate. So this was a very long process of developing this. And these are the specific behaviors that we expect to see every day. And that's not to say that everyone's going to display these all the time, but these are the things that we want to see, and this is the how we work together. And so when we are looking at learning, looking at development, we look at ways that we can support people to look at empowerment, or show how they care about each other. And that sort of guides the decisions we make about the interventions we take. So it's not just a random sort of selection of here's a training we need to have, or here's a good idea. It's very pointed towards a specific outcome. And so that ethos kind of cuts through everything we do in that sort of space.
I see. That makes sense. And I think we can, again, as you said, really see that innovative and collaborative mindset kind of influencing every part of your organization, as we see it here, for example, in the values and behaviors that you briefly touched on. If we look at these values and behaviors, these essential parts of your culture, how would you say that they were tested during this transformational period?
I think, and I think, to be really clear about the transformational period, I think, Juan, you spoke earlier about pivots, and we've certainly been through sort of product pivots and strategy pivots. We've had to respond to AI coming up and all the disruptions in the market, a lot of the sort of global headwinds as well. The major transformation that I think is framing this, and there's no sort of nice sugarcoating of this. It was a painful experience of going through layoffs in October last year, and there's no right way to do that. There's no good way to do these things. But some they are necessary sometimes, and we have to sort of go through that. So when things are probably at their worst and at their most difficult, this is when the pressure comes in to sort of say, are we really displaying these through how we communicate layoffs, how we deal with the morale hit that comes after layoffs, how we work with people who are impacted by these things, how we sort of focus on rebuilding, how our leaders show up, how managers show up. And so the test for these really was in that sort of, I guess, darkest time. How are they showing up? Are they showing up consistently? Where are we seeing the gaps? And where are we seeing the strengths? How are we recognizing that and celebrating that? And if there are gaps, how are we starting to plug them? And so the test was really in this big transformation, this big sort of period of massive change, where we really needed to focus on engagement and rebuilding and sort of bringing morale back together. And so, yeah, we looked really closely about how these show up in performance conversations and how these show up in our recognition programs and how these show up in sort of day-to-day, the events we run, the office experiences that people have. And so, yeah, a lot of work there on sort of the data analysis, the conversations, the relationships with people. And again, this was sort of my role as listening to really understand where these come through. And some of them come through very strongly, some of them not so much. And so that gives us some clues where we need to, again, focus some enablement or focus some time and focus some sort of program effort as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I guess that's something that makes sense. In the end, every single part of the organization of the cultural operating system, in a way, sees itself affected, and I think that's a very key insight, I would say, that we've also gained through our experience working with clients in these sorts of transformation processes. That transformation really stress tests a company's values. And well, I guess overall ethos, and really defines what stays and what cracks, what needs changing, what needs to go. So yeah, thank you for sharing so candidly about this.
I love what you just said there, Juan. The cultural operating system. I really like. I think that's a really important phrase. It's not just the culture. Like the culture is not a monolith, it's the operating system. It's how every part of that system comes together to form the culture. And then we can look at all of those parts of the system and find the bugs in the system, on the features in the system as well. So that framing, I really like that message.
Glad you liked it. You can also seal it, no problem. But it's really related to what you said, right? About culture being a monolith versus culture that actually does something. Kind of prioritizing it in a bit. I would love to stay in this sort of initial phase of the conversation for a very long time, but I'm looking at the time and I know that we have a few other interesting bits that we want to run through. So I would like now to move us toward or away from trying to understand the situation and more towards understanding the strategic decisions, the strategic design process that went behind your coaching program. And I would like to start by asking you what your biggest considerations were when designing a program, because obviously the situation was critical and it also expressed itself in many different aspects. So I guess it's a big program that kind of targets many things. So again, what were your biggest considerations when designing this, and why did you choose an external partner like Sharpist instead of trying to go ahead and building this program in-house?
Yeah, it's a big question. I think the considerations, the very fundamental consideration is, what's your philosophy on coaching? And that's a very sort of fundamental underpinning. I think at Miro, we're really passionate about coaching being a driver of performance, and everyone should have access to coaching. Everyone should be coached, because coaching is a way to unlock performance. When I started my career 20 years ago, maybe even longer than that, the association I had with coaching was it was executive coaching. Mm-hmm. And I still see so many executive coaches, and it seems to be really sort of focused on executive coaching. Or it was underperformance, someone needs coaching because they're underperforming. I think that's changed over time, and we really believe that executive coaching is important, but everyone can be an executive. Everyone is on that career path. And sometimes, or I think very often, coaching is most impactful earlier in your career, or where there's a challenge, or where there's a blocker on that path. Mm-hmm. And so it was the sort of big consideration is, how do we democratize this as much as possible? And how do we focus on coaching for influence across the organization, not just in leadership skills, but the ability to weather some of the changes and be resilient. And where we wanted to work with the external partners, I think Sharpist has been an amazing partner to us for many years. We work really closely with Sharpist. Sharpist have been really influential in helping us bring the behaviors to life in the organization. So we felt that Sharpist knows Miro really well. The probably kind of post layoffs, there's there's no easy way to say it. There's going to be a trust gap. There's going to be some, that sense of trust for the organization is not going to be at its strongest point. And so what we wanted to do was give as many people as possible the opportunity, essentially as a benefit, to have a career development growth kind of conversation, and for that to be handled without us sort of getting in the way, if that makes sense. And like the expertise that Sharpist brought, the real knowledge of Miro and the context and our behaviors, that really helped as well. So it was fundamentally about democratization and trust building. And those are like, I've given a very long rambly answer, but I could have said it in 2 words, which is democratization and trust building.
Thank you. And it wasn't rambly at all, because I really liked one of the points that you mentioned, specifically about trust, especially, you know, in such a turbulent time, trust is somehow eroded. And I guess also motivation goes a little bit or follows that same direction. So yeah, coming out with a you know, far-reaching program, a really sort of a big offering in these terms of you know, declining trust could also potentially have some negative impact, I guess, in people wanting to join, you know, people wanting to follow along. And that was not really the case with your program at Miro. So I wonder how you communicated this initiative to employees in a way that actually made them want to join, that kind of reinforced trust.
Yeah, I think it was, so like traditionally, I think when we've done coaching before, it's been a program, and you can like, yeah, we'll promote it and hopefully people will join it. Or we've targeted and said like, here's some coaching around a specific area. This time around, I think we wanted to take a very different approach. And yeah, we couldn't offer it to 1,500 people. I'd love to have offered coaching to 1,500 people, like for many reasons. That's not always practical. So we tried to be really strategic about finding the people who were, or who are, our sort of culture influencers, our culture drivers. And so like leaders are in that, but leaders are sort of fine. Leaders get their leadership development, leaders get their leadership culture coaching. Some of our newer managers, high people who are on teams with lots of other people who are impacted, people who've been going through change, our workplace teams who deal with like people in the office every day. So those people who are going to be absorbing a lot of the impacts of the impacts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the sort of, yeah, they have a lot to take on, and like resilience, like if these people are resilient, that's going to have a dramatic impact on organizational resilience. And so like, because this was quite specific and quite strategic, we went one to one, like one by one, me and the business partners, to everyone, and just said, look, thinking of you at this time, would like to offer you this coaching, entirely opt-in, entirely up to you. We'll set you up with it. You self-direct what you want to get out of it. We'll help you with this. And so like, it's not for everyone. Like the response was overwhelmingly positive, but not 100% of people sort of wanted coaching at that time. But I think that approach of going one-to-one and just saying like, look, we care about you, we're noticing you, like we've talked to your manager, you're someone we think is going to, you know, benefit from this. I think that went a long way. It definitely added in a lot of work to setting it up as a program, but I think also started to drive real outcomes. And I sort of tried to position this as more of a benefit. Like this is something we want to give you as a benefit, like as appreciation, as recognition, crucially as support. And then like with that message, we're not going to step in and check what you're doing. We're not going to advise you on your goals, and we're not going to like ask you or your coach to report back on what you've been talking about. Like this is something for you. You know how you are impacted. You know how you are feeling. We'd like you to access that support and have those conversations.
Yeah.
So that positioning, I think, was the difference, and like I think that became really important.
Yeah, and I guess that is truly, I mean, again, I guess, you know, another insight here for the audience, but I guess also from our experience, it's really, really hard to strike a good balance between personalization and scale when it comes to, you know, having a broad reaching learning initiative. And, you know, many organizations struggle with this, and you actually got it right. And I guess that's the key point. Scale, as in this is a far-reaching support program that anyone can participate in, but personalized, as in, we've been following your situation. We feel that this might be what you need at this moment, but no pressure. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. So really well done on that. As I said, that's something that we see a lot of organizations struggle with. With any type of coaching program, not just in the context of a transformation.
And I think that personalization, again, like I really sort of stand by it. It definitely adds in work, and it's a real team effort. And it was like, obviously Sharpist provided this, me working with Sharpist, me working with our business partners, then working with leaders and managers, identifying people, reaching out. And the way we sort of like wanted to see it is both sort of creating a support network around people.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a support network, and part of that support network is Sharpist. And that's probably the crucial part. And again, like there's trust, there's organizational stuff, but like that support network that people have, and that's where the personalization came from. But I think massive kudos, like I say, to the leaders and managers who really sort of worked hard on identifying people and also worked really hard. And I have to shout this out, like, of stepping out the way. There's a real tendency, like a lot of the time, I think, for leaders to want to know what's happening and want to know exactly what's kind of going on. And the message was fairly clear, like, get out the way, see the impacts of it. Like, have your conversations about how you're feeling, but don't get involved in like what the conversations are.
Exactly, letting go a little bit, which is also something that we struggle with sometimes. And fantastic. So I guess we've again covered a little bit of the context, covered a little bit about your philosophy, how that influenced also how you framed and positioned the coaching program, and how you went about finding people. I think that's also really a valuable lesson here, trying to find amplifiers or influencers within the organization, not just to model certain behaviors whenever things are going well, but also to model certain behaviors and a sense of resilience when things aren't necessarily so easy. And you already kind of, or we both kind of teased already that the program did have quite stellar results in different aspects or different markers that we can actually see in a bit. So Luca, could you please put up the fifth slide on our presentation? There we go. Perfect. So as I said before, really impressive stats here. Starting with the first one, so 100% retention of participants in the coaching program throughout the transformation, 25% increase in optimism, 4.9 out of 5-star rating with coaching sessions. So really, truly top tier feedback, to put it in some terms. Again, I'm not going to repeat the KPIs, but we saw the 100% retention, we saw the 25% increase in optimism. What do you think drove those results?
I think so that retention, and again, this was a driver. That we know post layoffs, with everything that's happening, attrition will always tend to go up. Like, that confidence goes down, that sort of psychological safety sort of often is impacted. And so we definitely sort of saw those trends as well. Like, we see the upticks in attrition, but of this specific cohort, I think 120 people, we retained all of them. And these are all, I don't like the phrase key talent, everyone's key talent, but these are all people who, like, we're influencers, we're important, we're sort of culture champions, culture ambassadors, whatever we want to call them. And all of them have stayed all the way through the program. And that was October to March. So that was a big result. I think there is a more intangible result on the impact that they've had on the people around them as well. And what they have brought to the offices and teams that they're part of, and that optimism as well. I think that's it's a difficult thing to measure. We actually saw our engagement survey results come up like 4 or 5 months after layoffs, which was again like not a surprise necessarily, but it's not a typical thing that we would see. And I think I'm not going to ascribe 100% to coaching, but I think that definitely had an influence. And part of that was, we do care. Like, we want to recognize people, we want to help, but we also want people to grow and develop on their own terms, and we want to be part of that. And the retention thing is kind of interesting because when we set up the sessions and we brought people in and we did the sessions like the onboarding with Sharpist, and we talked about it and we went through the goals that we could talk about. Like one of the things I said to people is like, you can talk about resilience, or you can talk about career growth, or you can talk about career transition. Like, and if that is the conversation you want to have with a coach about how you move outside, that's also fine. Like, we're not checking on this. So we actually sort of set up to people as well that like this is on the cards and this is on the table for you. And I think just that acknowledgement that like, yeah, human to human, like we'll be honest with each other, like this is going to be part of what some people are thinking about. I think that sort of helps as well, just show that, yeah, we're in this together, we care, that we are sort of wanting to help and support you with you as a person, not with you as a resource or an asset. And that makes a very big difference, I think. And then that sort of translates through to optimism, not just in the strategy, but in like the belonging at the company. And I think optimism and belonging go very much hand in hand with each other as well.
Indeed. Yeah, and that you actually mentioned many other kind of topics that I wanted to touch on with follow-up questions, as in, we see these stats and we also see, satisfaction with coaching and especially or utilization as well. I also wanted to know how these KPIs that are very, very specific to coaching showed up actually in the workplace. Because we also see, the topics that are, trending in coaching sessions, and we saw plenty of sessions related to obviously emotion and stress regulation, which is a, classic focus area for companies going through transformation, self-awareness as well. But as you also well mentioned, career development, interestingly, also made up, I think, 12 to 15% of all of the conversations. So people took it seriously. And I guess that's also very appreciated. But I wondered, as I said, aside from the coaching metrics, did you see other areas in day-to-day life, maybe in manager behavior or in team behavior, be positively influenced by coaching?
Yes, I'm struggling to sort of like, pin this like in data, but yes, I think the observation, it was not sort of the metrics, more the actions that we saw people do. So I got to know a lot of people through this program, and like one of the lessons, one of the takeaways is that a random HR person writing to you saying, "Would you like coaching?" can come as a surprise to people sometimes. But like through that, and I sort of, my approach maybe evolved along the way. I did get to know people and have kind of kept those conversations going, and I think it's some of the things that we've seen come out of this. So our yoga classes in the London office, or our managers community in Amsterdam, and like, how people have sort of been empowered to do things which make a difference, or lead some of these things which are making a difference. So we are definitely seeing that translation through to like actions. And then also, I think the strength of like having a career development conversation, and we see that sort of in performance management and people who are accelerating on career paths or making some changes or applying for roles. And I think those actions we're definitely seeing as well. But it's the most gratifying thing, I think, is when you see sort of people, for me, like taking the lead on doing things that impact people around as well. And there's that sort of empowerment to do things on a micro level, like to support colleagues or to run an event for people in an office, which might not have happened otherwise. Again, if morale and engagement is a bit lower, or if optimism is a bit lower, these things tend not to happen as much.
Completely.
So those kind of organic, nice things.
Yeah,
which I know is very sort of like fluffy and non-quantifiable, but
I disagree. I don't think it's fluffy. I think that's also the right way of looking at retention in a way. It's not just the classic HR metric, right? It's a signal of trust. Coming back to what you were saying in the beginning, it's a signal of trust and of a culture of resilience that slowly comes about and develops.
I put it in my bucket of organic nice things, but I think that is resilience, and that is like organizational engagement when people are doing nice things for each other. So
completely agree. Looking again at the time, I think we have to run a little bit faster now, because I would like now the final part of this conversation to towards translating the success story into actionable lessons, let's say, for the audience, and especially a topic that you brought up at the very beginning, which was, I guess, challenges or mistakes. I think those rarely get talked about in these sorts of presentations or conversations. So, what do you think were the biggest challenges that you faced when implementing the program, when running it? And if you could give us maybe one example of a mistake that you would do differently, or something that we do differently next time, what would that be?
I can give you lots of examples. I've packaged it up very nicely and said all these like really nice things about how it was a big team effort, like, which is all true. The way we got to that conclusion, I think, yeah, mistakes. Like for me, like, there's always going to be a time challenge. There's often a trust challenge. I think there is a sort of perception of coaching being for underperformance. And if I was to go back and do this again, I probably would be clearer in my messaging to people from the start. I think I came up against that a few times where we've just been through layoffs and now someone from HR is reaching out, giving coaching. Does this mean I'm underperforming? And I should have headed that off better. I should have communicated that better. Probably working with leaders as well. I think, yeah, it is a team effort. There were a couple of times where I sort of went direct to people and then a leader came back to me to say, why haven't you consulted me on this? Like, kind of what's going on? And I think just a better heads up, better communication that way as well. I think that was a big takeaway. Also, fundamentally, like, coaching's not for everyone. Like some people did 10 hours coaching. Some people are like, yeah, I'll do 1 hour, but actually it's not what I need at the moment. And so the realization, like, not taking that personally, and that's not a sign of the program not working. That's a sign of a program working fairly well. I think that people are trying and realizing for themselves. So how we built a lot of flex into the system as well. And I think, yeah, I'm very grateful to Sharpist for that flex, that we were able to say, look, this person's tried, maybe it wasn't for them. Let's take them out and like reallocate those credits elsewhere. So like the need for flexibility and customization as well, I think that was a huge learning. And just that some like people are all going to learn and engage at different rates. So for some people, it was an hour every couple of months. For some people, it was a couple of hours a week for several weeks. And so, like, again, just putting support in place to make that easy for people. And the other thing is just making sure that we were working really closely, like me and Sharpist, to give that, to respond to the feedback, and then me and the kind of individuals in coaching. Again, one takeaway for me is the amount of work that goes into sort of relationship maintenance. It's not a just kick it out there and hope for the best. I think you have to work really hard, check in, like after a couple of months, come back to people and say, how are you finding it? Have you got any feedback? Is there anything I can do differently? So those are some of the bigger takeaways. And like, yeah, like I say, the challenge there is just time, relationships, trust. Like, and I think they're very big, broad things, but the answer to those is time, relationships, and trust, and like investing into them.
Yeah, and I think that makes absolute sense. You know, it's big challenges, but I think they're also born out of the nature of the kind of program you set up and the kind of philosophy that went behind it. You know, coming back to personalization and scale. Even though I guess, you know, taking what you said, you know, even though you framed coaching as a benefit or as a perk throughout this period, it was more set up, I guess, as an infrastructure, as a whole program running behind this simple perk, you know, this nice offering that you're giving. There's a lot of work that goes behind it, but I guess that's what made it stick in the end within your organization.
Yeah, I mean, to bring it back to a previous conversation, it's part of the operating system.
There we go.
Like it's part of that operating system that there is something that you can plug into over here, and that again, like, that makes it difficult to measure, and it makes it difficult to sort of say tangibly we can ascribe this output to, but the system as a whole, like, yeah, is doing what it should be doing, which is supporting the people we need to support. And I'd love to expand it. I'd love more people to be in there, but like, it's all part of the bigger system.
Agree. And again, would love to carry on talking to you, Sam, this entire time, but I need to be mindful of the time and know that we're nearing the end of the officially allotted time. So before I go on and kind of summarize what we've discussed, I would like us then to now actually start taking questions from the Q&A. I saw already quite a few being asked. So I guess I'll just go from from oldest to newest. Sherry Lynn asked, what are examples of what you did to maintain employee morale and engagement after layoffs?
So working really closely with managers, really closely with managers, and being very clear about our manager expectations and our support for managers and our sort of manager communities. So the biggest relationship I think anyone has is managers. So we've spent a lot of time with them. Company events, connection opportunities. So we do things like Miro talks, Miro fails nights, hackathons, events, like ways for people to get together that is meaningful and trust building and that fosters psychological safety as well. Clarity, like leadership communications, manager communication, like all of our communications, just really regular communications as well. So again, those are other sort of really key parts of the operating system.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam.
Sorry, Juan, before you
yes,
ask, can I jump? And I also I would like to read some questions.
Of course.
So
Go ahead.
So the next question would be to Sam, like how difficult was it to get the budget for coaching during transformation, especially without monitoring the results?
I mean, it's never easy to get budget. It wasn't hard. I think, it wasn't easy because getting the budget is never easy, but it wasn't hard either. I think we have to make the business case. That's important. There's the moral case and the philosophical case. As a company, we strongly believe that we should support people. We believe in coaching. We want all of our managers to coach people. We want everyone to have access to coaching. Therefore, we kind of have a responsibility to provide this coaching. And because of our beliefs, we believe that the impacts will be intangible but positive. And so I think we saw that. And so it was all part of that sort of, there is a business case to it. And like there is a simple calculation. If 2 people or 3 people don't leave the organization that would have left the organization, then we've probably recouped the investment there. So we can sort of point to that, but I think it's really core to the culture, and the argument is this is our culture, this is our belief system, this is the right thing to do. So I'm not sure if that was a great answer, Richard. It's never an easy process to get budget.
Was a really cool answer. And like before we go into the next one, like maybe we can also ask some questions from the audience. So we prepared like 3 questions. So I'm just going to launch them, and please feel free to answer.
Sure.
So the first question would be, what is the main reason why this topic is important to you, like for the audience? Also, like I'm curious, why is talent retention is so important for you, for example?
It's a big question because I think that everyone has equal potential and everyone has equal strength and everyone has equal limits, like lack of limits. Not everyone has the opportunities or the context or the position at the moment to get there. So I think the more that we can offer support, the more that we can understand who everyone is and where they want to go, the more that unlocks a lot of possibility for individuals and for organizations. And so I'm I'm very passionate about this. And like one of my big passion areas is, like I talked about earlier, how you democratize coaching. And like I've seen that move away from it just being executives. I think, if you have it really early career, what that unlocks from sustainability and performance is huge. And so I really want to see that sort of trend like continue.
Thank you. So then after one poll question, I would jump back to the other questions from the audience. There is like a really interesting one, I think, like what is the business case behind an initiative like this? Or more bluntly, how to pitch coaching in times of restructuring to a CFO?
I think yeah, the pitch, again, like sort of like to the previous question, the pitch is culture and what we believe about culture. But in probably CFO language, it's the cost of attrition. And I think if we look at the cost of attrition in people in quota carrying sales roles, or the cost of knowledge lost in product development roles, or the cost of team low productivity because of low morale in sort of like project roles, then these start to add up very quickly. And so coaching is a relatively small investment per hour per person for quite high yield in terms of preventing talent loss. And when we lose talent, obviously like the hiring teams have to spend more time, managers' time is diverted. So that was the basic calculation. I won't go into all the figures. We did sort of cost it out a little bit more than that, but we can start to quantify like loss of productivity and talent. And so that was kind of the CFO part, and then how that drives specific outcomes as well, and how engagement, there's a lot of like Gallup research out there of how engagement links to customer satisfaction, how well-being links to stock price performance in the future. And so any way of we can find of supporting well-being and supporting people to translate that through into customer satisfaction and innovation, that's going to have a tangible impact.
So
I think that's a wonderful CFO pitch.
yeah.
I don't know if any CFOs are watching. But.
Do we take any more questions, Lutza, from the Q&A?
The end of the time. However,
Okay.
Sam, you have like a few more minutes, and also the audience have a few more minutes. I think we can take one more question.
I have, and if anyone wants, I'm very happy to chat. If anyone wants to reach out separately, I'm very happy. I'm on LinkedIn, or people want to just have a chat. I love talking about this stuff. I'm very happy to chat. So if any questions don't get answered, if it might be helpful, I'd be really happy to chat to anyone. But happy to take more questions now.
Okay, then I'm going to read out one more question, and this is, did you face any pushback when implementing the coaching program? How do you handle pushback from stakeholders when implementing a new program policy? And also, we just wrote some LinkedIn link in the comment, in the chat, so feel free to reach out to him after.
Yeah, I can give you a very honest answer to that question. I hope this isn't too honest. Like, yes, we got some pushback from leaders, and part of the pushback was you're taking time and capacity away from my team. And so the sort of very candid answer here is my response to that was, too bad, we've already done it. Like, deal with it. Like, I'm going to people individually, like, because we believe in these people. You're not gatekeeping their development and their growth. Like, these are grown adults who manage their time and manage their development. Like, again, like, that didn't happen very often. I know that's probably not a great answer here, but like the sort of more diplomatic answer to that is working with leaders to sort of say, yeah, understand your concerns, but the idea behind this, it is self-directed. It is an individual sort of choice how to engage, and we're going to work together on helping people get the most out of this program. But I think that, again, that pushback is maybe rooted in concerns over time and capacity as well, which I think is a very fair sort of challenge. My encouragement with that is like work with people and help understand what are they getting out of this program. Like, are you seeing a difference over time as well? But just like budget wise, like culture wise, no, it was more. But I just want to sort of put that out there. But it was more on that individual basis.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I don't think we have time for more questions, but please feel free to reach out to Sam, Juan, or even to Sharpist regarding your questions, which stayed. And yeah.
Okay.
So left all of the LinkedIn links that you can connect with Sam or Juan.
Perfect. Well,
Amazing. Thank you
so much.
Thank you to everyone for listening. And like I said, very happy if anyone wants to reach out with questions. I'm more than happy to discuss.
Thank you for being so candid and open with us today, Sam. Also, thank you, Luca, for your support. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hope to see you very soon in the next webinar.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.